Thought that today we could revisit some best practices in Boomtown, just as far as handling leads as they come in, and speed to lead stuff, which we talked about during our meeting a little bit yesterday. Just because it's been a while since we've touched on it, and some of you folks are a little bit newer, and it's always worth kind of a revisit for folks who have been around a little while. For those of you who weren't on the call Thursday, I did post the thing about the listing documents that we went over, which was timely because Holly was getting ready to ramp up her first one. So hopefully you guys will be able to check that out, and it'll be helpful for you when you get to that point. So bear with me while I pull up just a few things to kind of go over and look at together. And
I missed that. What are we talking about? I was trying to make sure the grits didn't burn.
We're going to revisit some Boomtown best practices with speed to lead and some things which we touched on a little bit yesterday. If I can find the right thing to share, bear with me. There we go. So you guys let me know if you have seen this before. It's from the resources page. Holly, I know you did because you were so great with the resources page, and Cassie, you said you did too. Thanks for taking advantage of that. It's just something we haven't revisited in a while, and honestly, I should really just print this out and give it to everybody when they join the team. But I think it's worth revisiting just how important it is to be why speed matters so much with these leads, and this really gets to the heart of why I'm so appreciative when everybody says, "Hey, I'm calling my leads because I can't be front of mind with my leads right now. I can't jump on them because I've got an appointment or I'm doing something with my kids," and all that is great. I appreciate the accountability, and this is why. Because what we want to focus on is that first 5 minutes, the amount of minutes or fewer it should take you to respond to a new lead. 75% of prospects end up working with the first business who contacted them. So it's so important that we're the first person that they talk to. Now, obviously, we can't control how many websites they're registering on, but say someone is sitting down and starting their home search and they register on 3 different websites in one day. If you're the first one to talk with them, then you can ask them how else they've been searching and get them to use your site only going forward. And that's a great way to secure that relationship. But it just shows you how many agents are doing this. And we want to be this 9%. So in reality, these are the average agent response times. Less than 10% are responding within the first 5 minutes. 50% are responding between 5 minutes and 3 days. And 41% of people never respond. Why would you even want to be on a team that's providing you with lead flow if you're not going to jump on these leads in a timely manner? Because speed to lead really is everything. And what a missed opportunity that is. If we know that the average Boomtown conversion rate is between 2 and 4%, then the more people you talk to, obviously, is going to give you a higher chance for success. But you got to talk to them, and you got to talk to them sooner. And this tells a big story right here, just how precipitously your percent of converting them drops in only 10 minutes. Your odds of qualifying a lead drop 400% when you wait more than 10 minutes to follow up. 10 minutes. So, several people will share the experience where I've called and there's like, "I'm still on the website. Why are you calling so quick?" This is your opportunity to share your value and show how attentive you are, to talk about how I'm a full-time real estate agent. This isn't just something I do on the weekend. And don't you want someone who's this attentive when you're about to make a couple $100,000 investment? If you think I move quick just to call somebody after they register on my website to introduce myself, how fast do you think I'm going to move when I see a home that I think you're interested in and try and get you in there to see it, the things that really matter? And that's just the opportunity that you have to capitalize on. And that's all part of it. That's where you're not just answering the phone or calling them and saying, hey, you registered on my website, how can I help you? The difference is there, you got to take that opportunity to sell your value. Just like when we get in front of people, it's not just about being happy and settling for opening doors. It's about making the most of being in front of the person at that time so you can start building a relationship. So this is just a cute little way to look at it. Tale of two leads. One, Ann registers on my website. You call, hey, Ann, my name is John, and I'm with the Ocean Air Realty. I wanted to see what questions I could help answer, or like to schedule time to see a few properties this week. Sure, I have a few minutes. John chats with Ann and discovers she and her husband are looking for a 3-bedroom home under 500K. They have a home to sell and need the name of a lender. Wow, I mean, that's dream scenario, right? They want to work with one of our lenders and they got to sell a house. That's a grand slam, really. Ann's ready to see some houses. John, this would be like if they had like an ISA, but we're doing this ourselves. So you set up the appointment, get in front of them, connect them with our lender, boom, go from there. Here's the other scenario. Kyle registers on your site. You don't reach out, or you reach out in 24 hours. Kyle browses a few other sites. He goes through Instagram. He walks his dog. He makes his snack. He gets a call from somebody else because he registered on 3 different websites and they set an appointment with him. If people are taking the time to do things, we got to meet them where they are and show them that we're attentive and we're paying attention now. So again, I can't stress enough how important it is and how much I appreciate the accountability when folks say, you know what, now's not a good time. I can't take this lead, or I'm just going to pause my leads because I don't have the time to focus on it. What I want you guys to always do with your business is when you're in it, be in it 100%. Focus on it. Knock it out of the ballpark. Don't half-ass it. You know, really be focused on it, really get after it, really be efficient, really make the most of your time. So with the time you don't want to spend on real estate, you can do the same with that time too. Don't be half in and half out of everything that you're doing. Don't be half in real estate and half in with your family. Don't be half in with your family, with your kids, with your spouse, with your parents visiting from out of town or whatever, and half in real estate. Try to keep them compartmentalized. Now, there's always going to be some overlap, and that comes down to, like we've talked about, being able to prioritize what needs to be handled now and what can really wait. And the best way to be able to identify those things and to make sure that those things are coming in and you're able to handle it that way is making sure that you're setting the right expectations with your clients, right? If you've got people who are always needy and you continue to be there for them every time they're needy, even though they're not doing the things you've asked them to do, then you're setting the wrong precedent. You got to set the right precedent for them. Okay, these are, now that we've got acquainted and I understand what you're looking for, these are the next steps, excuse me, that I need you to complete. This is your homework before we can take the next step. And that's where the consult comes in. That's where at least going over that home buying process page comes in to help them understand the logical flow of how this is going to play out. Do you see how this kind of all runs together and it's like, you know, like a path? Any questions about that or any conversations, experiences, things anybody wants to share? Just discussion.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way. I mean, if you continue to dick around with them, they'll take advantage of you really quick. And if they're really serious, like for instance, this weekend, I drove my ass all the way to Elizabethtown to meet these people and had all the showings set up, ready to go. And she texts me, she's like, we're in really bad traffic. We're 120 miles out. And I'm like, okay, the showing was supposed to start at noon, which meant she wasn't going to be there till 1. I was like, okay. So I texted the agents, pushed back all the showings, no big deal. Then she texts me again, sorry, it's going to be another hour. And I'm like, mother hell. So now I'm already driven an hour and 20 minutes to this house. I'm like, do I sit here and wait for 2 hours and get in front of them? Or do I cancel? Like, I was like, what do I do? So of course I sat and waited. Thank God all the homes were vacant. And I was like, they're not leaving this first house until they sign this agency agreement because I'm not screwing around and wasting my time. And clearly I've shown that I've committed to them. And so that's what we did. They eventually showed up at 2:00, showed the house right there in the house. I had the buyer packet ready to go, gave that to them, signed WWREA, signed buyer agency, and off we went. So at least you're in front of them, showing them, okay, this is the next step, this is the next step. And trust me, I've been burned really, really bad, wasting a lot of time with people that obviously didn't give a damn about your time.
And so you turned a frustrating and difficult situation into, I'm going to grab control right now. And when they get here, I'm going to lay out how this is going to play out.
Yeah, I sat in the car and filled out the entire agency agreement and pre-signed it and everything. So all they had to do was put their initials on it.
And that's what we talked about. And I think
Yeah.
you handled that the right way, because you showed, look, what do we talk about? The first one is free, right? But I'm going to make the most of the first one. When I say it's free, I mean, I'm not asking you to commit to anything before we do it the first time, but I'm going to take the opportunity to show my value and explain what needs to happen before we move forward.
Yeah. I mean, she was nice. She apologized. They get it. They couldn't help it. Traffic sucked. They drove from Florida. But at the same time, I'm like, are you joking? It shot my entire day. And thank God I had my computer and everything else so I could terminate a contract while I was waiting. But, you know, that's another story.
Well, I mean, and that's another best practice. And we're squirreling a little bit on best practices, but this is supposed to be best practices, right? Guys, I rarely ever go anywhere without my laptop. If you're not comfortable and flexible enough to write contracts and edit contracts and submit contracts through the Dotloop app on your phone, then I would not travel without it. It's like the old American Express commercial, if you guys remember that, and some of you probably aren't old enough, but don't leave home without it, is what the American Express commercial said. So don't leave home without that laptop.
I was just going to give another example about Boomtown. So yesterday, a lead came through to Boomtown to me, and I just sent out an email because I was busy and not even thinking about it. And then just a few minutes ago, Cassie texted me about this lady, and she's like, well, it says they're already registered with you. Have you talked to them? I'm like, no, I was going to call them after the meeting. Totally fine with transferring it to Cassie. But she then had reached out to you last night, I believe, and then got transferred to Cassie. So it's just because I wasn't in the space to be able to handle it yesterday, she moved on.
Yeah, Doug, it was that one you sent me yesterday. I talked to her last night and this morning, and then I went to set up her search, and I saw that she was already in Boomtown. So I asked Holly, I said, are you working with her already? Because like, if she'd already made contact.
So see, great example. People register on multiple sites at the same time. And it's not the first time, honestly, which I think is incredibly a small world, that they register through Realtor and come to us. They register, they're searching, and the Boomtown site that they land on is us. But then that happens. So a good best practice may be, and maybe I need to make sure I'm double checking this on the Realtor leads before I pass them, is see if they're already registered on the website. But to your credit, Holly, you made a really good point. You hadn't reached out yet. Somebody else made contact. Whoever gets them first, right? That's just the name of the game. Because we've had people register with multiple emails on Boomtown and go to different agents. Hell, I think it was Nate and Stephanie or somebody, and Janine. They were both working with a client. They both met with the client.
Wow.
And either the person didn't realize that they were both on the same company or they were ignoring it. But
didn't care.
This was like months and months and months. Like Nate had him on there for like 3 years. I had him on there for almost over a year. It was bananas. And then, I mean, I don't know how it happened. I think I screenshotted something in the group, and then he's like, wait a minute, that's my lead. And I was like, oh God, what the hell? This is awkward.
I mean, that's a good reason. We got to control what we can control. If you're working with these people, make sure you know where they're searching, who else they're talking to, meet with them, get them under agency, get it wrapped up. Now, if they're out of town, it's more difficult situation like that, of course, but you understand the point that I'm getting to. Provide
Yeah.
the value.
How did-
Don't let them talk to anybody else. Make sure that they're not.
How did you guys divvy that up when you realized you both had?
Well, I had actually met with him and got him under agency unbeknownst to Nate because I guess he just never responded to Nate or what have you, but it was crazy. And so, I mean, Nate's like, man, you got him under agency. It's fine. But what a douchebag. I was like, and I felt terrible because Nate had connected him with Adam and been talking to him forever. And same thing. I had actually met him, got in front of him, got him under agency, and then, long story short, wrote a contract for him, and then things had to terminate. So it ended up being bad lead anyway, but it was weird.
Yeah, I could see that would be an issue. So I've noticed I've looked up people's names that I was working with, and they have been seen by someone else on the team too. So it made me wonder how that, I guess it's the same situation.
All it takes is a separate email address, and
Right.
things happen too. A spouse will be forwarded an e-alert from somebody on the site that hasn't really talked to someone. It's an auto e-alert or an e-alert that we built for Qualify, and then they register, and the spouse ends up getting, signed up with someone else. So just, always be aware of that, because it does happen. But in a situation like that, it's whoever makes contact first, whoever gets agency first. But I mean, that doesn't happen that often. It's pretty rare, but it does happen. Any other questions about the speed to lead thing that we were discussing? Was that helpful?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's obviously this is a numbers game, but I will say, the very first contract I ever wrote was a guy that had registered. I called, left a message, didn't think I was ever going to connect with him. And then, because the wife had registered, and then the husband called me back. And they legit were like, yes, this is the house. You want to go see it? Drove my ass out in the hurricane, showed him the house, drove to Wendy's, did the buyer consult, got him connected with Adam, called Doug, took 4 hours to write a contract, and then got it done. But that's obviously not how they all go. And then I had another lady that said, she came from Virginia. She wasn't exactly ready when we connected, so I kind of worked with her and connected her with the lender because she was waiting for her job to get the job accepted here before she was ready to move forward with her home purchase. But she did say, you answered she said, you called me at 7 o'clock in the morning. Like, who does that? And so that's why she had and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, okay, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. Do I call her? Do I ring her? Do I not call her? I mean, okay, she's on the site, she's registering, she's there. Okay, I'll call her. So, there are people that are appreciative of that.
And I mean, I firmly believe the people who aren't appreciative of that are less likely to be valid leads anyways.
Right?
Because for the most part, who's not appreciative of someone exhibiting great customer service? And that's what that is.
But if you're registering at 11 o'clock at night, my ass ain't calling you.
And I mean, I agree too. What I will do in that situation is maybe shoot them a quick email and just say, hey, I saw that you registered on my website. It's a little late to call. I will be reaching out to you tomorrow at 10 a.m. If there's a better time to call, let me know. If they don't respond, make sure you reach out around then. And then if you don't get them, you just treat them like a regular qualified lead and get everything rolling. But at least that way they know that you've received their stuff.
Yeah.
I've been up at 1 o'clock before I called somebody. They answered the phone. He's like, what are you doing awake? And I was like, what are you doing awake?
Right, exactly.
They're like, what are you doing up at this time? I'm like, why are you up at this time?
That's right.
And then it becomes like, oh, well, I was just up because I had to let the dogs out. I was like, yeah, I just happened to wake up a little early and, just checking things out. And I saw you signed up. And figured, hey, if he's up, might as well give him a call, see what he can do to help.
You never know. Now, not everybody's going to do that. Not everybody has to do that. But you have to be yourself. That's very much Charles just being himself. That's just how he is. That's how he goes about things. It's kind of like Nate with his memes, right? Everybody's got to find a way to make it work for them and to show that they're being, original when they're reaching out to people.
My computer's about to die. I'm going to connect on my phone. My charger, I left it in the office.
Oh, don't.
I know.
All
It's
right.
okay.
So I wanted to revisit this lead life cycle so everybody understands, hopefully, the way we handle leads when they come in through Boomtown. But I just want to revisit it to make sure that nobody has any questions about it or any misunderstandings. So you get a lead, it comes in new, call ASAP, just like we talked about. That speed to lead is very important. If you don't get them, we move them to qualify. And this 5-time thing is built into our qualified drip, right? So the way our qualified drips are set up, it's a call, text, or email every day for basically 2.5 weeks. Okay. So every day it's either automatically sending a text, automatically sending an email, or creating a to-do for you to make that call. The important thing to remember is if you're not staying caught up with your to-dos, then they're not getting a touch every day, because likely you're calling on a day that is also sending a text or getting an email. That's why it's important to stay caught up with your qualified to-dos, right? So make sure that you're doing that. Also, we're setting up an e-alert, either an auto e-alert, well, an auto e-alert if there's enough info in there to create the system e-alert, or you can just look at the one property that they looked at and build it yourself. You got to get something in front of them and just set that to daily. We want to do something to wake them up. If they never respond during qualify, all the qualified drips are set to automatically go to archive, where there's another drip also to try to wake them up. It'll keep the e-alert going, but there are no calls added to your to-do list. We got rid of those about 6 or 8 months ago. Remember the qualified drips, there are 3 versions of them. We've got the regular one for good email and phone. We've got the bad or home phone number, so they get all emails since we can't call or text them, or it's the bad email where they get all phone calls and all texts if the email is bad. If the email is bad, obviously you can't send them an e-alert. If you talk to them, then you should understand which category they're going in. Watch, nurture, hot, and then you set an appointment or a to-do accordingly to follow up with them. Then obviously you get them under contract, you move them to pending. It automatically sends that intro email lead or email drip, the 1-step drip from April, which is just April's bio video, so they know who they are. And then you move them to close. And then you can set up a drip too for your close folks to remember to follow up with them. A good idea also, which we need to talk about in another best practice, is setting up an e-alert for your neighborhood for comps for your closed folks, so they can continue to monitor their neighborhood and understand how their value is increasing, their equity is increasing in their asset. The other thing that you want to make sure that you do, which I think we've gotten away from a little bit, is everyone should have their own customized review email template in Boomtown with the links to your Zillow profile and to our Google pages and our Yelp page and our Facebook page. Please make sure you're sending these out to people that you want to review. Now, obviously, if you have a tough transaction and you don't feel like it's going to go well, I wouldn't send a review email to those. But for 99% of our transactions that go great and your folks are very happy, please make sure to send that review. That makes a big difference. I can't tell you how many agents on the team have come to me and said, hey, I just got a call from somebody. They found my Zillow profile and read my reviews. I mean, that's why we're doing it, is to get more eyes on you and recognize what you've done to help bring you more business. We talk about, some of us feel like maybe we don't have the greatest SOI. We haven't lived in the area as long as other people. That hasn't developed as much. Make sure you're developing it through your closed clients. Use that to develop that SOI. Share what they've said about you, because not only can you tag them when you post it and thank them, but your sphere will see it too, and it will continue to grow, and people will continue to think of you front of mind when they're at the church or they're at the grocery store or they're at the ball game. They hear so-and-so say, hey, my friend's moving into town, or hey, we're getting ready to move. We need to sell our house. That's how you organically grow your sphere, but you got to do that. And we make it really easy for them. All they got to do is click the links in the email.
So obviously I don't have any closed yet, but I do have this couple I was sending, we did a whole bunch of tours and it turns out they're not going to be financeable until this fall, winter time.
Mhm.
Would it be, they were a Zillow lead. Would it be crazy for me to send them a question about, or the email about a review, even though they haven't closed with me yet?
I mean, you can. It would, I would just think about what you're asking them to review,
Right, okay,
what they would say. It would be better. It's better just for closed clients. Although I had somebody once do one before we even got under contract.
right, okay,
So, but that's what it's aimed at.
right, okay.
And we can talk about that in another call too, just to make sure everybody understands exactly what it looks like. And if you have any questions about it, of course, we can talk about it. But these are just general Boomtown best practices from the very beginning to the very end of a transaction. Another thing to remember, and hopefully this goes without saying, but I'm going to say it. When you make an offer on a home, turn off the e-alerts, so your folks aren't still looking at properties. Now, if it doesn't work out, turn them back on, right? But don't continue sending them properties once they've decided to make an offer on a property. Pause it immediately. Any
I have a
questions?
question. I do.
Okay.
So I had a couple Boomtown leads close. And recently, and I turned off their e-alerts like when we went under contract. But recently one just popped back on. Like I just saw it this morning looking again. Can I turn them back on? Like he bought like a small little like beach investment thing. So I don't know if like maybe he wants to do it again. I'm going to reach out today, but like, is that something that if I saw him before I talked to him, I could just turn it back on? Or
You could, but I would do that. I'd be like, hey, Bob, I noticed you're back on the site. Do you want me to turn your alerts back on just to keep you in the know for other potential properties like the one you bought? Or, you're looking for something else, or somebody else looking something like that. I'm happy to do that.
all right, awesome.
And if you know that they're an investor to begin with, it might be something where you never turn it off because they're always going to be looking. So, just use your best judgment. That's a good question, Cassie. Anybody else? Any other questions about Boomtown in general?
So to turn their e-alerts off, you hit the unsubscribe button, and then
Yep.
if you want to resubscribe, okay,
That's it. Yep. I wouldn't delete them. I would just unsubscribe them.
got it.
And too, I've talked about this before, but just to make sure newer folks aren't missing it, when I get someone to hot, I turn their e-alerts to instant, and I copy myself on the e-alert. That way I'm seeing things as they hit the market, and I'll see it on my phone. I'll open it in my browser. I'll copy the link and I'll text them the link and say, hey, did you see this? It just hit the market. Now, I'm not going to do it for every property, but for the ones that I know based on what we've talked about and what they've looked at that I think it'll be a good fit, I will absolutely do that. Hey, have you seen this one? Want to set up a time to see it? Something like that. That's just providing value because, people are at work. They're not checking their email, maybe their personal email all day, no matter how much they need a house. That just helps you get the value to them quicker. Anything else? All right. Well, I hope this was helpful. Always good to revisit this stuff and just remember how it kind of all flows together and why we do what we do to get folks from point A to point B. If you have questions, let me know. We'll do another best practice call on Thursday. And if you have any questions, like I said, just let me know. Have a great day. Thank you guys for participating. I appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.